Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Bachelorette hometown dates or hometown dates. This is really just going to be a video about Greg and Katie. Let's just be honest here from the start.
Some of you might not be that happy with me, but we shall see how it goes. I've seen the reaction on Twitter, and it seems like only Greg is getting kicked into a pit here. I don't have that same opinion, so put on your hard hats, folks.
Okay, I think a part of how we're going to try to tackle this because there's a lot to be tackled in the Greg Katie situation, but we're going to talk about what Katie did wrong. We're going to talk about what Greg did wrong. We're going to talk about what producers did wrong, by the way, because I think there's a lot of blame to throw at them as well, as there probably always is with this show.
There is blame to go around. No one here is innocent.
Yeah. It's also Michael. It's also your fault for leaving. No, I'm joking, Michael. You made the right move for yourself, Michael. I don't blame you, but Justin is now in the final two. By the way, I just want to present that to the audience.
Oh, God. Okay, we'll also talk about that because he was never going to win this show.
No, all right. Well, before we go further here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We will be here to discuss the big finale, whatever this is going to look like next week. And also check out our coverage of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Big Brother, The Blacklist. We got a lot going on here at the channel.
And be sure to follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. We have a lot of really good conversations going on over there as well.
Okay. Katie and Greg. There's no easy way to start this.
All right. Okay, so let's buckle up here. Okay, so I've seen a lot on social media. One of the things that's been out there is just Greg knows what he signed up for. Okay, listen. Everybody doesn't really know what they sign up for. They know to some degree. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to have to deal with fantasy suites and hometowns and whatever. Nobody really prepares you for having the feelings that you do.
Yeah.
And then you have to do all these other things and watch people go off on these other dates. I don't think anyone really prepares you. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I know that happens. And then you're in love with somebody and then it completely changes because they just don't reveal that part of the show where the guys have nothing to do except think about Katie and think themselves to death. And I think we saw a very good example of somebody thinking themselves to death tonight after, what was a really questionable response to I love you. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
So this is where it all really started. Greg had this huge heartfelt, this is how I was feeling about my dad. I haven't been happy and now I have all this joy and you've brought it out of me and I love you. And the response was, I love looking at you. And this is where a lot of my blame on Katie is coming. I understand that you don't always have all the right things to say, but that's the same as basically being like, thank you. I love you. Thank you. No, you can't. You can't. There's a whole bunch of other things and other ways she could have gone about this.
This reminded me a lot of, there was this scene in that 70s show where I think Topher Grace's character, someone said I love you to him and he responded with I love cake. This was sort of an I love Katie did a bad job. I think we can both agree that Katie did not handle this well at all.
No, just his body language absolutely changed. It looked like his heart fell out of his chest on the floor. You could see it. And then her reaction to that was also really bad, where she was kind of like, I don't know what's going on. What are you upset about? What could you possibly upset about? I don't know, Katie. What could he possibly be upset about? I love looking at you.
I think just so much of the problem here is, and it's weird because Katie has been on The Bachelor before, and I don't know if this is just a symptom of her not making it super, super far on Matt's season, because it felt like she didn't understand where Greg was coming from, and she thought that Greg would understand where she was coming from, when Greg is not the lead of The Bachelor. Greg doesn't know what it's like to date multiple people and try to balance these feelings and not try to overstep telling one person one thing. It's a real sort of just like, I don't know, it's almost a fallacy of like her thinking that Greg can read her mind and understand what's going on in her head, and that it will be okay because of that.
Yeah, so we had that situation happen. Then
Yes.
we had Greg is going to go back to his hotel room and think himself to death all night, which is pretty much what happened. So the next day he ends up showing up at her hotel room, and it seems like when he got there, he had already thought himself into he can't handle it. Okay, that's fine. You've decided you can't handle it, and you really can't. And I understand where he was coming from with some of this. Now, she is trying to explain, what the deal is. And she's like, oh man, I really screwed up. I told everybody that I'm not saying I love you to any of the guys, but I didn't tell you that. His response was fair in that, where he said, I wasn't necessarily looking forward to that. I mean, yeah, that would have been great. But what I wanted was just a genuine reaction to what I was actually feeling. You don't have to say, I love you. You can say anything else. It can be, my heart is open to hearing this about you. This is something that warms my heart. This tells me that we are going in the right direction together. There's a bunch of other things she could have said. So I understand where he was coming from. Then we get into where Greg screwed up too.
Yes. Okay. And I agree with you that Greg was fine to ask these questions, and Greg was right to feel insecure and upset. And because the thing is that heartbreak is a powerful, really powerful emotion. It is a devastating emotion. And once you feel that, you can't think of anything else. You don't think like yourself. You don't act like yourself.
Yes.
It is a very, very difficult thing to get a hold of. And I think what happened throughout this entire sequence is Greg just imploded. Like, he let his heartbreak just control him, and he went to probably an extreme here where I don't know Greg, and Greg's probably off watching it back somewhere and probably thinking, what was wrong with me? Like, why did I act like this? Because
maybe, I mean, when we all look back at our own heartbreaks, where we've all been there, where our heart is so broken, we just don't know what we're doing. You just feel like you're kind of out of your mind. Then you put them in the situation that they're on this show, where they have no access to friends, family, internet, anyone to talk to, can't pick up a phone. All you can do is go back to your room and feel those feelings raw all night long. I mean, this felt like a genuine spiral into, now he's railing on her.
Yeah, and I think Greg was mean to her in this conversation. Like, I feel like he wouldn't really listen to her. She tried to apologize. He just wasn't hearing it, and he just kept hitting the same things again and again, and it kind of just made me wonder at a certain point, well, you were obviously really hurt and heartbroken by what happened, Greg, and I understand that, and I was even sympathetic towards you coming into a lot of this, but it just felt like over time it wasn't getting anywhere. It was only making things worse, and I wish that there was someone who could have stopped him. It just been like, don't go over there right now. You need to chill out. You need to just take a minute, talk things out. Like, I don't know if that would have even been possible, but it just felt like him going over there was a waste of time because he was way too emotionally heated, and he came across really, really badly because of where his headspace was at.
Now let's bring in the producer's role in this. Because, yes, if this was another situation, it could have gone in another way. Greg could have maybe picked up the phone and called someone in his family and been like, hey, I'm feeling really, heartbroken about this. What should I do? Maybe his mom would have been like, hey, there's still 2 more weeks left. This is what she's told me.
Yeah.
You're someone really important to her. Drop that front runner stuff, because Greg was right about that as well. You can't say someone's the front runner and then him being like, okay, well, maybe tomorrow I'll be in second place or third place. I'm having a relationship here. I'm not here to win the show sort of thing. But if it was real life situation, Greg would have called a family member. A family member would have talked him down to be like, get a good night's sleep, just think about it and then get a good night's sleep, and then maybe talk to her in the morning or come home in the morning if you just feel like you can't go forward, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that was not going to happen. We are watching The Bachelorette.
Yeah.
This is a TV show first. So producers were never going to let Greg just go home. They were going to be like, you need to go talk to her. Oh, you're feeling bad? I completely understand, Greg. I understand. You need to go tell her.
It's all so true. And the thing that producers, once again, big surprise everyone, they're the real enemy here, because I feel like producers probably also, with Katie, were probably really like, oh, you said you don't want to tell one of the guys that you love them until the final one. Yeah, let's really reinforce that. Like, they probably put like all these things in her head that made her really, really nervous in this conversation with Greg, or he's pouring his heart out to her. She's probably got it in the back of her mind of, okay, I can't let it be clear that Greg is my guy, that Greg is my final rose. And I think I at least want to think, once again, I don't know Katie, but I want to think that sort of kept her from responding like kind of a normal human being would in that moment. And like, because that other part about the front runner stuff too, like people don't talk like that in real life. Obviously, she's just had these production terms just rolled into her head.
Yeah, and I mean, this was particularly heartbreaking, I think, for even just watching as viewers that are invested in these relationships, invested in Katie, because Blake is, I feel like I love her. Maybe I'll tell her. No, I'm not there yet. There's still time. It's like, okay, there's 2 weeks. Yeah. Same with Justin. I'm not there yet. Maybe we'll get there. There's 2 weeks left. Then you've got Greg. I'm in love with you. Yeah. I'm here. It's us. We're going to be here at the end together. I swear, if she had given any other reaction than I love looking at you or thank you, he would be there still. He just needed some kind of reassurance that his feelings mattered.
I think if Katie had said something different, or if producers had even just sort of put Katie through the process differently, I think that they're together. Like, I think that they go the distance. I think it completely and total. Like, that's probably one of the weirdest things through all of this. And I don't know what it was like for them watching, because it was, I just feel wholeheartedly that that's the decision that Katie was going to make. And Greg completely imploded because he just didn't feel like he was being heard anymore.
Yeah, I think that her reaction just sent him into a spiral. And then he had no real anyone there to help pick him back up again. So he just continued to spiral and hurt and hurt. And when you're breaking up with someone and you've got your feelings hurt, you hurt back sometimes. And then we saw that happening, where it was just like, I was just watching it being like, Greg, just stop. Just tell her that you're breaking it off and go home. But when you're really hurt, you want your other person to hurt. That happens. We've seen it happen on this show. I'm sure we've all seen it happen in life. And it's ugly. And it turned into that, where he did just rail on her over and over and over again. And nothing she said was going to make it better, because he had already made up his mind when he came there that he was ready to leave.
Yeah, and he just wanted her, I think he just wanted her to feel as badly as he felt. And, that's not a nice thing to do, but it's heartbreak. And that is something that happens with heartbreak.
It does. And that's why I can see from just a TV standpoint why there are people out there that are solely railing on Greg, because that was a really ugly spiral that he went through.
Yeah.
But you have to take everything into context, or at least I'm taking things into context. There are things that led up to this. He wasn't just gaslighting her right from the start here, railing on her right from the start. We saw that moment. She saw that moment.
Yeah.
And she was still like, what's happening? I don't understand. What's happening? And I was like, no. No, Katie, you've been so good this whole time of kind of like, not just with Greg, like really reading people and understanding what's going on. You know what's going on.
I think she did too. And I think she was probably just very resistant to say what was really on her heart because of everything with the show. And this is where we are. I'm going to dip really deep here into Bachelorette history for a moment here. This is Desiree season all over again, where Desiree had that dude, I think his name was Brooks, who like left right before the end, and it felt like she was going to pick him the whole time. And then she ends up with some other guy who actually ends up being the right person for her all along.
Yeah, I'm sure that Blake and Katie will have a very nice life together because it is not going to be Justin. I don't think any of us, including Justin, thinks that it's Justin.
Justin is like, I'm still here? Like, this is fun. I like Justin well enough on the show. Like, he seems fine. He seems like he's got okay chemistry with her. It's just not there.
No, it's not there. The chemistry's not really there. Nothing is there.
Is it time now that I bring up the discussion that I know you've been looking forward to so much, the Blake, we're going to exploit Canada hometown date?
This felt like the Serena P date all
Yes.
over again, where they just took them to a room and they put some Canadian flags on the wall and some ice skates, and I was just like, we're gonna do shots of maple syrup. I have maple syrup by my bed. I'm like, get out of here. No, go kick rocks. Nobody has maple syrup sitting by their bed in Canada. That is ridiculous. It is. And the really crappy thing is because if there are people who don't actually understand or know much about Canada that are watching this show, now they think that we actually have maple syrup in every room in our house. We go to bed with the maple syrup beside us. We don't ride horses, according to Blake. We ride moose, which is would be insanity. We'd be dead.
Yeah.
It's just, I hate the Canadian stereotypes so much. Like, this is an opportunity to learn a little bit more. Are you going to bring out Serena P's old poutine plate here?
I would eat that poutine. I love poutine. Poutine is delicious.
But that did not look good when it was brought out then either.
It's true. I've just kind of wanted poutine ever since. But okay, let me ask you. You're someone who grew up in Toronto, very Canadian. Have you ever taken a shot of maple syrup in your life?
No, 0 times. It has also been suggested 0 times. I don't know anyone that has done that. Like, yes, is it delicious? Sure.
Yes.
Do you use it on some other things besides pancakes? Sure. You can put it in other things. You can put it in donuts,
I love that.
Yeah, there are other things, but you're not going to just pour yourself a glass of maple syrup and drink it. It's so absurd.
I wish there was some maple syrup here and I could just take a shot of it on the pit. No, I don't want to do that. Okay.
Oh, no.
I have one more beef with Katie in this episode, and I don't think it's being talked about enough, is when Justin informed her that his parents couldn't be there, they had this confessional where she was just sort of like, and I don't know if he's taking this seriously, and that's just sort of like, he doesn't really have any control over this, right? Like, this isn't his fault if his parents, like, we don't know why his parents didn't show up.
No, we don't know. It could have been because they were like, I don't want to be on TV, which is a fair thing. Or it could be, I don't believe in this process. I don't support you going on this show. That is fine too. It could be, we're having health problems. There is a health crisis going on and we don't feel comfortable to fly. That's okay too. But yeah, her saying that his parents making that choice are somehow a reflection of him. Yeah, 0 out of 10 on that. That's not all right.
No,
that's
no
not his fault.
No. Well, we will all prepare ourselves for the inevitable final rose given to Blake.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, we're all going to prepare ourselves for the comment section. You come and roast us for seeing any side of how Greg felt in this. I will be clear. I think there are 3 different places to put blame. It is not just Katie. It is not just Greg. They both played a part.
Yeah.
But it is also production.
Yeah. Well, listen, we all live in a world of hot takes, right? We know that Twitter
Sure.
exists. So, if you've got hot takes, sure, just, let us know. Be kind, but let us know. And
But tell
yeah.
us if you think something different. That's fine.
Well, but also,
But be nice about it, please.
yeah, we know this is people were heated. Let's just put it that way.
People were really heated. I
Yeah.
mean, people were kicking Greg in a pit. Like, there was no anything about his heart getting broken or where this all kind of started.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, some of it, but not all of it. It can't just be Greg pours his heart out and Katie just jumps into his arms.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there's still a show to be filmed. There's
Yeah.
only so much she can do, but she could have not said, I love looking at you.
Not good.
What's wrong, Greg?
good.
No.
Share everything you think in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any of our other coverage. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out on Instagram at Matt and Jess TV. We'll see you here next time.